Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jam, Suwaid.
Yo, Abla, yo, luta do dede. Luta mo nulo jel mo to nga andil mahalis. Hello?
Busel mo fine.
What?
Busel mo fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills, and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Busel mo fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
So, what is going to happen when you leave office? Because you've said that you will not contest the next mayoral
Under no
elections.
circumstance.
Yeah? So what's going to happen? What's the future of Talib? Let's talk about the political career of Talib now.
Well, man wills and God decrees. I set out to be a National Assembly member. That was not possible. I then tried to be a councillor of Kololi. And the fates basically turned me to be a mayor. Because I have a business. At heart, I enjoy business. I like to be financially independent. And I don't think you would make a good public servant if you did not have some level of financial freedom. Of course, the reason I say this, Gambia is very expensive. Salaries are very poor.
You know how Dr. Cisse would respond to that?
Yeah,
he would say everywhere is expensive. Even America is expensive.
Well, but you need, in America there's good incomes for public servants. In Gambia there's not.
He would say salaries have just been increased by 70%.
No matter how much percent you increase Gambia's salary, it will not be enough. The reason being is our gross domestic product is too small. Our tax base is too small. And the little tax we have is being mismanaged. Gambia, to have a good income, you probably need to earn 15,000, 20,000 plus. That's not even good. An income enough to take care of your basic needs. Yeah. But that income could never build a house for your family or pay a mortgage. It could never buy you a car to take your children to school and take care of your basic needs. It could never give you enough money for leisure and welfare activities, or to pay for your health care adequately, to feed your family adequately. It's just enough to keep you breathing and able to wake up and to maintain some level of dignity, right? But to earn an income enough to basically feel that you are having a good quality life, you need probably 100,000, 200,000 salary, right? Just because we don't have a productive base. We are not manufacturing products. We import everything. So we are consuming the same standard of food, the same standard of materials and things we import, same standard that an American would buy, or a British person, or an Asian person. And our incomes are what? If you look at Gambia's GDP per capita is $1,000, close to $1,000. If you look at those developed countries, America is now $90,000. Most of Europe is $50,000. So we are consuming items with that people who are 50 times, 100 times richer than us are consuming. So that's why I said Gambia's salary would never be enough. That's why government's focus should be on the metrics, right? GDP growth, interest rates, the power of our currency, because we are a consumer-based economy. So these are the important things. So I feel like they are so minuscule in how they think. Oh, let's just increase government salaries by 50%. But they don't sit to think, what is the impact of that? How does that make a difference in somebody's life? And what ends up happening, every year you have to increase to even keep up, because you're running after inflation. Because you're not doing anything to control inflation.
Some people say the more you raise, salaries, the more prices will go up. Because
it causes hyperinflation, right? So increasement of salaries, increasement of government spending is somebody who has control over interest rates, over inflation. Then you can boost the economy. But if you're increasing spending and you're not controlling you're not controlling monetary policy, you don't have any monetary policy, then you just aggravate the problem. So basically, the salaries our government provides cannot sustain an adult to take care of their family. So that's why I said I needed to have and maintain my financial independence outside of council, to be an honest, to be a hardworking, to be a high impact public servant.
Is that consistent with maybe the code of being a mayor? I mean, can you be in business?
Yes,
because ministers are not meant to be in business.
So mayors and the president.
I was just chatting with one minister, who is into farming, and I said, you shouldn't be,
So
doing
that's
farming
why,
as a minister.
I always say we are elected. Ministers are appointed.
Yes,
right? So that's why I have freedom. I do things that I believe are the best without fear or favor.
Okay.
I don't worry about who's going to fire me.
Politicians are very adept at deflecting questions. The question is,
Yes.
what is the political future of Talib Ahmed Bensouda?
Well, it's anything that comes in my way, right? So basically,
You started out
I will
wanting to
continue-
be a councillor, started out wanting to be a National Assembly member.
member.
You ended up being a mayor.
yes. So
Now you
I
said
will,
that you don't want to be mayor
I will
anymore.
continue pushing politics. It's a belief. It's a belief that we need to continue serving the country. We need to continue building the country. In normal circumstances, 29-year-old in most parts of the world would rather be, enjoying life.
Unless you're a Thomas Sankara becoming president at what? Was it 29 or 27?
29, yeah, but even Thomas Sankara is in an underdeveloped country with lots of problems. But I'm saying a normal 29-year-old in a developed country probably has very little interest in being an active politician, because country functions for the most part. There's other opportunities that are more interesting because the country works. The country is functioning, is developing. There's good quality of life. But in our context, a young politician like when I started, there was too many things wrong with the Gambia. I've lived all over the world. I know how a functioning country should be. And if I am going
Would you still use the past tense? There were too many problems.
There's
too many things wrong.
There's still
wrong with
too
the
many
country,
things.
yeah.
Too many things. Some worse, some better. Some have improved, but some are markedly worse. So in that context, I would rather spend my time trying to build my country, and that's what brought me into politics. And the same problems persevere. The same problems exist. So I will continue to use my time in any capacity. I always say, I am not saying, I have to be this or I'm not going to be part of politics. No, I want to be engaged in building the country. And the best platform, as far as I'm concerned, my capabilities apply, is politics. So whatever comes in my way after the mayor, I will take. So basically,
What are you looking for?
well, it's too early. But I would like to be in a position where I can have the highest impact on all of Gambia.
Would that be in the National Assembly or would that be in number 1 Marina Parade?
Well, like I said, it's too early to determine.
But you have to make a decision now.
I have to come closer to the end of my career as a mayor.
So when would you make that decision? In 2017? Sorry, 2027?
In 2026, I'll make that decision.
Okay.
So basically, the reason also I am ending my mayoral career, and to many people, they think is
Premature.
unceremonious or premature,
Yeah.
etc. It's a matter of principle. Of course, by the end of my second term, the work will not finish. All my aspirations will not be achieved. But we have a core belief, I have a core belief that we must serve a fixed period of 2 terms. The reason being is it is healthy for the country. It is healthy for the country psychologically. It's healthy for the country as far as governance is concerned. The work will never finish. There is no angel. There is no magic pill. There is no amazing individual that can fix the Gambia in 100 years. It will take a lot of good people. It will take a lot of talented people. And you can only play your part within a fixed period. And you're only human. You will exploit majority of your ideas, majority of your capabilities, your vision. And all of that can only be effective within a 10-year period. I think it's actually a science. Whoever developed it is a good science. Even in your private business, after a while you find yourself dormant.
Yeah, people will tell you that Yahya Jammeh in his first 10 years, if he had quit after 10 years, we would still be begging him now to come back to power.
Exactly. And remember, people also grow tired of you, right? People also, politics is unforgiving.
Do you think people are tired of Barrow already?
They're tired. I think people...
But he's not been there for 10 years yet.
Yeah, but they're reaching that period. So if Barrow left in 10 years, immediately there'll be big appreciation. Then there would be people who would criticize what he didn't do. But in the long term, people will see the good he has done, right? So
your advice would to him would
I've
be...
said it publicly. My advice is...
Don't run in 2026.
No, don't run. Let him do it not only for the country, but also for himself, right? It's always best to leave the stage, at your highest point. Yeah. Don't allow yourself to be dragged out or to be pushed out or people to be tired, because they are getting tired. Majority of Gambians are tired, and they will, now that tiredness will turn into frustration. That frustration will turn into anger, etc. So don't allow yourself to get to that point, and don't let anybody push you to that point. There are people who will come on the radio, they will beat their chest, they will say, oh, Barrow, why does Barrow have to leave? The Constitution allows, etc. They are talking about their own personal interest. Even if you look at their faces, you see they are not sincere. And a lot of them were the same people standing and saying Barrow was not capable, Barrow was not intelligent, Barrow was corrupt individual.
I sense
all these things.
I sense some thinly veiled attacks there.
No, it's not an attack. It's
Dr.
not an attack.
Cisse, Momodu Sabali,
I'm not naming names.
even Demba Sabali.
So even me as a mayor, everybody has those people as a leader. But you need to make a determination about what is best for the country first, what is best for you second, and what is best for your family and your legacy. And like I said, leaving in a 10-year period has way more wins and way more benefits for Barrow than trying to continue. If I went for a third term, I would win without a shadow of doubt.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm 100%
What makes you so sure?
I've
heard people who say that Bakari actually ran you very close.
No, not close at all.
You may have doubled your vote
not
and all of that.
I had a 15,000 gap plus between myself and Bakari. And with the president being a campaign manager for him, essentially doing house-to-house campaigns, with all the NPP political infrastructure converging down on KMC to the point of ignoring other regions. And I defeated him decisively, and I increased my margin in council. So if I went for a third term, which the law allows, because there's a 3-term limit for mayors, I have the incumbency, I have the track record, I have the skill and competence to defeat them a third time. But would that be justice to the people of KMC? Would that be justice to myself and my legacy? Would that be good for my family? I think not.
Would it be justice to walk away when people are expecting more from Talib?
Absolutely. There will always be people who wished you continued. And sometimes being a leader is making bold decisions is best for people even if they don't know it. And we cannot also be, on one hand, preaching to Barrow about the benefits of a 2-term limit for the country at large, and when our elected officials holding office are going for more than 2 terms and 3 terms.
Yeah, but
it's a conflict, right? It's not correct. Yeah.
What happens if you quit and an NPP-sponsored candidate wins and decides to undo your road network, for instance?
Well, I don't think they're going to go break the road. But they can stop building roads, but I doubt they will.
You think you will complete all the roads you set out to?
No, it won't complete. Yeah. Because even
because we can see what is happening in the U.S.
The contract outlives...
With Trump undoing everything.
But that is
Democrats.
That is democracy. So democracy self-corrects. Democracy makes mistakes. But at the end of the day, it is more robust. It is more resilient than any other system. What democracy is a process of continuous reflection and redevelopment. An autocratic system has an expiry date, and when it expires, it implodes. And then you have to start from scratch. With democracy, you never start from scratch. It course corrects, it redevelops itself, it reinvents itself. But remember, it's people power. people decide. People also make mistakes. The mob always makes a mistake, and they self-correct. They adjust. It can never be perfect, and you will never have a prophet as a candidate. You know, you will always make mistakes with a candidate. So it's,
7711599. If you want, to ask a question of Talib, he's with us at least up till 10:30. I should let you go and do some work at KMC. That's what you get paid for. So only in 2026 will we know in what capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, like I said, when the time is right, and I know exactly what I want, I've resolved. I'm a person who, when I resolve, there's no going back.
Okay.
But before I come to that decision, I consult. I take my time. I also analyze what is best, not just for the country, but also for myself.
Okay. And I know it's up to the UDP to pick the next candidate for mayor in
the UDP.
In KMC.
We have our own processes.
Is that conversation already on?
About the mayor for KMC?
Yes, the next candidate for mayor.
I think quietly is on, but I think it's premature. I wouldn't advise that discussion at this point in time.
We're not out in the
public. We have a bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, okay.
Which is 2026, which has a major impact on what happens in politics.
We'll get to that later on. But I'm simply saying, has that conversation begun? Because I am assuming that you will be central in helping the party decide on who is to, succeed Talib Ahmed Bensouda as a candidate for mayor in KMC.
Right. So I think that process has not started, but I'm sure there's many people with quiet ambitions, planning. Every politics is that nature.
There's this Bojang fellow in Bakau.
Who's that?
Is it Bojang? Maybe I'm getting his.
But I've not heard of anyone who had decisively said that they.
I was just going to ask: would you like to see, such a person?
Well, I would like somebody competent, competent.
I think he's your youth representative. Who's your youth representative?
Kemo Bojang, you mean?
Yeah, that's the Bojang fellow.
I'm hearing that rumor for the first time.
No, I'm asking.
I think he will have to come here.
I'm asking. I'm not peddling any rumor. I'm saying, would you like somebody like him?
Well, I wouldn't pinpoint anybody. I would say, in general, the traits that would make an excellent mayor.
How about a woman representing you?
Absolutely, why not? I think somebody who's, of course, more competent than me. I would like to see that. Somebody more vibrant.
Does the UDP have that? A lady politician who's
UDP
more competent than you.
Has depth. So there's people
because we can look up to Banjul, and based on revelations at the local government commission of inquiry, say, well, we don't want another Rohi Malik Law.
Well, so I can only speak for KMC.
Yeah.
But like I said, I would like somebody competent, vibrant. I would like a unifier, somebody accommodating, patient, a good listener. But high tempo, somebody, because I consider myself high tempo. I like impact. I like to be productive. But basically, these are the traits. It's not about age. It's not about your gender. It's about basically your character. But a good listener with good temperament, you're less likely to make mistakes. Part of leaving, you asked about, am I worried about NPP taking over? But that's democracy, right? So I won't live forever. Anything can happen to me. I'm only human, and this is life. So what is important is the democratic system must be robust, must be resilient, and the parties that exercise their constitutional right within the democratic system should mirror that. So parties in the Gambia a lot of them have not shown that resilience over the decades. We see parties who start and end unceremoniously. So we would like also parties to look within and strengthen their internal democratic processes.
Well, that hasn't happened with UDP.
UDP is the best. It's not perfect.
It's not been in government, but it's been here for decades.
Yes, it should.
Whereas PPP's longevity, you could say, was because they were in power. And PP.
So I always say there's always in Gambian political history so far, it's always the incumbent versus UDP. So I consider UDP as the only party that stands by itself. If you look at history, it's PPP versus others who all disappeared. Then APRC versus the UDP, they were formed the same time. APRC disappeared, the UDP is still here. NPP versus UDP, and I assure you, NPP will someday.
Let me ask you, how did you end up in the party? Because you referenced your dad earlier. He was never in opposition.
My dad?
Yeah.
Today?
No. I mean, he was a parliamentarian under.
No. So my dad was part of the PPP.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, so
he was not part of the opposition.
So UDP didn't exist when
at
the
time.
PPP was in power.
Then it was NCP
and many people believe
and UP.
most of the PPP moved to the UDP. So my father was in PPP.
Ruling party.
My mother was in the PPP as well.
Ruling party.
Yeah. So when the UDP came along, my mother was part of the UDP.
Okay.
We were sympathizers. My
Naturally.
father is a UDP sympathizer. He's not an active politician. He was a civil servant. So UDP has always been the party.
Okay.
But it's nothing extraordinary as far as why we supported the UDP. It was just to fight the dictatorship that Gambia was going through, the cronyism, the mismanagement of resources.
At least, at mayoral level, the party has worked for you. But what is it like, serving under Usainu Darboe? My neighbor, just a stone's throw away from here.
Well, he's a bank of knowledge, wisdom. He surprises me a lot. He's, as much as he's been around with his experience, his education, his age, his fight for democracy, you wouldn't imagine as a young guy like me, I would find him approachable, So
he went to St. Augustine's High School, by the way.
Well, yeah, with my father went to St. Augustine's
You
High
see?
School,
Lamin Mane, are you listening?
He was his prefect. Darboe was my dad's prefect. Okay. So what I find most interesting that with all his depth, as a young person, I find him extremely approachable. So basically, I can walk into Usain Darboe's living room and give him advice, or tell him I think you made mistakes, or tell him I think this is what we should do, and he would listen. He would not be offended. He would debate. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you know that you did not convince him. How you know is he doesn't engage. He will just keep quiet after a while. Okay. Then okay, maybe I did not convince him. Okay. But if he engages a lot, maybe you're on the cusp of changing his mind. And I've changed his mind on occasions. But I find him very humble and modest. Yeah.
Very good.
Axel jam si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Very good. Talib Ahmed Bensouda, our guest. Let me start taking questions for you. Hi, Peter. Good morning. I am Sidiko Suno from Faraba, Banta. My question to Mayor, how far is the investigation of the woman who was stripped by KMC police for stealing money? Without a doubt, she should be prosecuted. There's no justification for her crime, but her rights and that of her child were violated, and that needs to be addressed. No excuses here.
Yeah. So I think aptly put, it's exactly as he said. So this is a thief, repeat offender, somebody who was caught in the act, who should definitely be prosecuted. But the way and manner in which the KMC police treated her was unjust. They violated her basic human rights. She's not only a woman, there's also a baby involved. And what we find most interesting is, you've brought her to your office. Why would you allow the general public to be viewing her? Yeah. Why would you allow anybody in your office? Secondly, why would you also record? Although there's a debate as to who was doing the recording, but my position is, even if it was from the public, why would they allow anybody to come in there and record? And basically, there was no need to rush to try to strip her or search her. She's in a confined area. All the stolen items she has are with her. So we are extremely disappointed.
Including what looked like meat.
Yeah, well, this lady is quite interesting. I will come to that. But I think what has been done by the municipal police has disappointed us. We believe they had higher standards.
How have you dealt with these?
So there's an investigation going on. There's been a disciplinary hearing by the police command led by Seni Sanyang, the operations commander, who released presser. There's also appointments and establishment committee investigation. Now they're actually going to the lengths of going to the market and even the Serekunda police to do their findings about exactly what happened, etc. And from there, we will, of course, take disciplinary measures. To what extent, I don't know. It's based on the recommendation from the committee. But I think also it calls for more training. It calls for more training generally. Because their behavior basically showed that they were dealing with it just like any ordinary angry citizen would, and not as professional police force who should have composure and discipline. So we'll definitely deal with it. Now, coming to the lady, I mean, it's interesting. We even saw CCTV images of a prior theft she has done, where she basically uses her baby as a shield.
How sad.
So when somebody comes in with a baby, especially a woman behind her back, nobody questions them, or they look like an innocent party. So she basically uses her baby to not look suspicious, and she basically just walks into shops and just grabs things and leaves, and nobody thinks twice. So this is the second time she has been caught. But what we also find interesting, on both occasions, when she's handed to the Serekunda police, she's left to go without prosecution.
That's the Gambia Police Force.
The Gambia Police Force, right? So KMC Municipal Police can detain and arrest, but we cannot prosecute. We cannot keep you in a cell. What we do is we apprehend and then we hand you over to the police, just like a citizen would, or anybody would, right? So even citizens have the right to arrest.
So UDP knows that road construction is critical to development. Why are they always criticizing the government for road construction?
Well, I don't think UDP has criticized the government on road construction. I think what...
Well, if they haven't directly controlled them for... criticized them for road construction, they have criticized the cost of constructing these roads.
Well, I mean, we criticize...
I've made reference to Lamin Mane here, Larry Cisse. They have said that we are being, and when I say we, taxpayers are being overcharged.
So roads are critical. Roads are important for the basic function of any society. And it has an impact on all aspects of nation building, including education, health, economic growth. But when you build roads, we want roads that are studied to calculate what the impact would be. Because government builds roads, but they really don't communicate what is the goal of that road. That road should have a goal, should be strategic. Secondly, the cost at which these roads are built should be transparent, and the tender process should be open, and they should not be inflated. The prices should not be inflated. So our focus is not just on the cost of roads, but on the cost of every aspect of governance, right, of development. Roads is, of course, the most obvious target because it's the biggest expenditure and the most visible. But I'm the first to say that, look, I'm very happy about the Bertel-Hardin Highway. I mean, it's reduced travel times. It's a good quality road. I am not one to just, criticize government for no reason.
Not even but I think for cost reasons?
No, so that's what I'm saying. The roads are necessary. But government should communicate the impact of the road, the purpose of the road. Secondly, the cost of the road should be mitigated and make sure we get value for money and it's not inflated prices where kickbacks are given. So I think UDP's arguments are mostly focused around the cost attached to these roads. But whether roads are important, of course they're important. And especially in Gambia where 90% of roads are unbuilt still to this day.
Good morning, Mr. Gomez. Kindly extend our regards to Honorable Mayor for his kind gesture to the Catholic community. Hey, hey. We sincerely appreciate his love and support during our Divine Mercy Sunday procession. This was yesterday, held at Brikama. That's not even his jurisdiction. I remember he was with us last 2 years at Darboe, and he supported us with drinking water. Though he is not a Christian, may God richly bless and reward him and every other person who has in one way or another contributed to the success of the procession. He is setting good leadership examples for Gambians, religious friendly coexistence. And this is from Nana Obi of St. Kizito's Parish, Bakote, which is where I also worship.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, St. Kizito's. How important is safeguarding this unique? Okay, maybe alongside Senegal, we have the most harmonious, Christian Muslim relationships across the continent, and we are in effect,
absolutely
the envy of the rest of the world.
I think Gambia has always been a beautiful country for that aspect, and this is not today. It's been from the start of Gambia.
So when you support non-Muslim activities, you're not doing it calculatedly for
no. So
political reasons.
No, so I am one who likes to reinforce unity and harmony amongst peoples, and I am one who likes to communicate and basically do symbolic gestures that talk about Gambia as a tribe, that brand Gambia as one tribe, right? So I am a person of mixed background. I'm also a person who has lived in countries where I was a minority as far as my religion is concerned, and I see how Muslims are treated even in Western countries, and it's for the most part healthy and positive. And I think that unity and this brand of bringing people together is a Gambian brand and must be protected at all costs. Of course, it comes under attack regularly by politicians who try to exploit the division of people, who try to exploit fear and suspicion amongst peoples. So I consider myself as the white knight who fights against those politicians. Yesterday, day before yesterday, on Saturday, we hosted one of the most incredible programs, which was a Fuller Community program.
Yeah, you're all over the papers this morning.
Yes. So
you were awarded.
I just was supporting it to show the importance of promoting cultures as part of a Gambian culture, right? So I always say I don't promote tribe, because if you're not born in a tribe, you cannot be a member of that tribe. But I promote culture, because if you're not part of a tribe, you can speak their language, you can wear their clothes, you can dance to their music, you can eat their food. Essentially, you can be part of that culture. And all these cultures that are in Gambia, I don't like mentioning tribe, I say cultures, are part of a big Gambian identity. And Christians are a pillar of that identity. So I was just in church attending Philip Bensouda's funeral. I mean, he's a Catholic. I did not feel uncomfortable one bit. I read through their documents. I looked at the process. I respected their process. So I think being a politician of a Muslim background, attending these programs freely and participating, wholeheartedly is a symbolic gesture to other Muslims and other Gambians that, look, Christians are an important pillar and we must protect them, we must support them, because this is healthy for the Gambian identity. And if you look at even with the local language section at the library, unprecedented event. Fulani peoples and Mandinka peoples, who are the biggest and most dominant tribes in the Gambia, were brought together in one event, celebrating their linguistic, linguistic aspects of their language, their alphabet. The Unko from the Mandinka and the Adlam from the Fulani. People came from Guinea-Conakry, Ivory Coast, they came from Senegal, they came from Bissau, Sierra Leone and Liberia. They all attended the program.
Because we were setting a good example.
Yes, and at the end, the most beautiful thing happened. The Fuller community awarded the Mandinka community, and they came together and held hands.
The best part for me was I shared it with Tombo, was the the public announcer identifying Sidi Jata as Sidi Jame.
Oh, really? Oh, my God. Sidi Ajata came. He made a tremendous speech.
Sidi Ajata, yes, exactly.
And there he said, KMC has always been a trendsetter and has been doing unprecedented things. First, opening the first municipal library. Second, launching a local language section. And for CDA Jata to say that about KMC, I felt so honored. I felt so proud.
Hi, Uncle Peter. I'm enjoying the program with you and Talib. I want to ask him, what about the buses for KMC and public servant transportation promised before?
Yes, so this is a major issue we are contending with. There's a company set up. There's a board of directors in place. What's been very evasive over the years is the financing. We don't want to enter into a financial arrangement that would hurt the council or the bus company. We have been offered buses. We have been offered partnership. But so far, we haven't seen a good deal for the people. We hope by the end of this year, something's going to happen. But definitely before the end of my term. For me, what I want to do is set the foundation. And another mayor could come and expand the fleet. And look, even the TfL, Transport for London, started somewhere. It started with one bus or one railway or something like that. And today they have undergrounds. They have, what do you call, zip lining. They have those, the Emirates line, etc. And it's a multi-billion pound company. You know, the TTC, Transport or Toronto Transport Corporation, you know, where I used it regularly. They all started small. So for me is the legacy of just starting. And then
just break the ground.
Just break the ground. Other mayors would come and expand, and hopefully there might be railway and underground. It's not possible. It's not impossible. Yeah.
Thank you, Uncle Peter. Mayor is doing well, and I just implore him to ignore the detractors. However, KMC should improve its availability at the grassroots. Yeah. I understand they have councillor offices all over the place, but are people making the best use of it? And likewise, their toll-free number. Feedback is a critical factor in identifying loopholes and opportunities for adjustment, and this is coming from Aziz. So have you been getting feedback on how these council
So I think citizen participation is what is lagging behind. I mean, all the council can do is provide the tools,
the opportunities,
make available the resources, but community has to engage. So I think sometimes what we see is youths especially, they'll just go to Facebook and complain about an issue instead of walking over to their councillor's office and making sure that issue is addressed, right? So we have this problem where citizens are not fully aware of their participation in nation building. But we have a radio now, and we are trying to promote that, though we have not been given a license.
I was going to ask, I mean, how come, you know, you're claiming you have a radio? You don't have
a radio.
You don't have a license to operate one.
I mean, your setup is more fancy, but we have a setup. We have an antenna. It's not a commercial radio. We will not be doing any advertisements for companies, but it is just a community radio for advocacy. We are online. We have all the tools for a license, but you know we've been refused one.
Why? Have you been told why?
Well, why is because Talib Bensouda is the mayor. I'm sure once I leave.
No, they're saying there's a moratorium on new licenses. Well, do you know anybody who's been given a license since you were told the moratorium was on?
Well, I think they're blocking everyone because of KMC.
Oh dear, oh dear. Good morning, Peter. Come on. How can you compare Gambia High School and St. Augustine's of the 60s to 80s? GHS was the flagship educational institution. You just said that democracy has a way of self-correcting.
Yes.
So that's part of the democratic process. Talib is in the wrong political party. UDP are an angry political party. How does it make you feel, you know, hearing people describe UDP in those terms?
I don't like it. You know, UDP is a diverse group of people. We have, of course, progressives. We have conservatives. We have people who are extreme. We have people who are very liberal, like any community or any set of people who have come together. I think we've been branded unfairly. I think people usually take quotes from hardliners and images and videos from hardliners and propagate it. And this is why this concept has spread so widely. And it's work that started since the Jammeh era. You know, they've successfully branded UDP a certain way. I am free in UDP to practice the politics I believe, which I believe is a politics of tolerance, is a politics of accommodation, is a politics of progress and development. I don't like Hasidia. I don't like criticizing people or insults. I condemn it. And I'm part of the UDP and there's others. So the reason the gentleman, as a gentleman, is saying
Yes,
that is
Aziz.
because, I mean, a lot of them like my brand of politics, right? But the brand of politics they have been sold about the UDP they don't like. So they generally try to create a distinction between Talib as a politician and UDP as a party, which I think is mistaken. Because to know Talib as a politician, UDP would have had to give me the platform, right? And they gave me a platform above others. So basically, my identity is part of a UDP identity. It's just that UDP as a brand is so dynamic and multifaceted. And sometimes the loudest voices and the images we see are mostly from the conservative groups and the hardliners. But it's a very diverse party.
And do you have the split, conservatives, hardliners, camps, as they say, and to which camp would Talib belong, or is Talib heading a camp?
No, so I think the camp messages always come when you basically identify a group of people who are considered Talib's friends in the party, or the people who like Talib or want to see Talib's politics grow. And so, of course, those people are identified and bundled in a camp. And so it goes for others within the party. But
Apart from Talib, who else has a camp in UDP?
well, I wouldn't say I have a camp. I'm just saying how they came up with this theory. So it exists in every political party. It exists in every congregation. I'm sure even in religious congregations, even in churches, they say,
there are camps, you know,
in the church.
emerging, you know, ahead of the conclave to elect the next pope.
So it's just humanity. Human beings are like that. You're attracted to like minds. You're attracted to like characters and personalities. And as you move together, people will classify you as a camp.
Good morning, sir. Can you please ask the mayor whether he will be ready to appear at the commission to clear his name, the truck contract, and his visa issue in Senegal in particular?
So I say, wherever I am a public servant. Wherever I am invited, I have been one who's never shied away from the public, never shied away from any platform, no matter how hostile or contentious. And I just want to also clarify this contract for the trucks. I am not part of the contracts committee. I am not a sole decision maker when it comes to the procurement of anything. The council as a body votes. I don't have a vote. Of course, I am a mayor. I have influence, right? I can say this is what I believe, right? But I don't have any decision making or any exclusive decision making ability to make anything happen without consensus. So committees, like I said, they meet, they recommend to the general body who has to vote. So the council rules and executes by consensus. This passport thing, I think they blow out of proportion. One, I have to personally go to Senegal if I need a visa. I just came back from Senegal. I was applying for Austrian visa. I have a trip to Austria. I leave my passport there. As I travel by road, I have to go with my security. As a mayor, I have to go with my driver, and I have to go with my protocol. Standard practice. When I go there, the protocol sorts out the visa in partnership with the Gambian embassy there. When they do the protocol, I come, I do my fingerprint, I hand in my application, etc. Then I depart. When I depart, the passport has to be picked up. So in the past, we were not really coordinating with the Gambian embassy. So we had to send personnel to pick up the passport. So when
personnel would be a driver
and an individual.
Okay.
Right? And that's what we did even in this case. So a driver and an individual went to collect the passport, and they both have to be paid per diem. They're leaving the country. So their per diem, their fuel, etc., cost about $40,000. So it's so shocking that this became an issue. $40,000, that's not even paid to the mayor. It's not coming to my pocket. It's paid to two individuals who are going to collect my passport. So it's politics is propaganda. They start propagating it. Oh, why couldn't they send it through DHL?
Who did NPP?
Of course. I mean, these are political opponents. You know, it's very nonsensical. You know, so even my Austrian passport cannot be sent through DHL.
Your Austrian visa?
Visa, sorry. It has to be collected personally. My when I applied for France, it has to be collected personally by somebody. So I have to write a letter of authority. Yeah. So 90% of embassies are not using DHL. Somebody has to pick it up. So in the past, we would send somebody. But now what we do, the embassy would give it to, which is not even safe. They would give it to somebody who's coming by
land or air.
GTSC.
Oh, okay.
They would give the passport to somebody trusted who's coming by GTSC, who we still have to pay, who would have to bring the passport. But remember, these are sensitive documents of my person. So one, the amount is negligible. Two, the fact that I am not the one making that amount is funny to actually criticize me on that. But it's one of those things that's been happening in my political career.
Comes with the territory.
Throwing mud until something sticks.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Axila jam si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
Good morning, Uncle Peter and Mayor Bensouda. If UDP is seriously considering making Talib their flag bearer in 2026, UDP should understand that the earlier he gets their endorsement, the better for him. Making him candidate less than a year before the election definitely makes it difficult to unseat the incumbent. Classical case is Esafal, who joined the 2021 race in the last minute, and the outcome was disastrous. First and foremost, is UDP considering making you?
So that's interesting. He talks of UDP as it's an individual. UDP is a diverse, complex political party with many structures.
It's an entity that still makes a decision.
It's an entity that has a process to make a decision and has a timeline of making that decision. And this thing that you have to be picked 1 year before to basically unseat the incumbent, I don't think it's factual. Barrow was picked 3 months before. Jomai Faye was picked 10 days before. I think what is most important is that, of course, UDP will start the process in due time. But what is most important is the messaging. And I think our media and communications team is doing a tremendous job, is doing an excellent job to basically expose government and its economic malpractice, its mismanagement of our finances, etc. What is most important is getting the people to understand that their country is going in the right direction, which I think most do. Now, of course, to get the incumbent out, it requires strategy. Barrow is to be no way underestimated. He's a president, a sitting president, determined to stay on. He's, I think, fearful for the wrong reasons as to why he believes he needs to continue being president. So he will be desperate. So UDP has to be very strategic. We have to communicate very well. We also need to partner. We should always be open to partnerships. Nation building, electoral processes, partnerships are at the center. Nation building the same. Governments that encourage coalition partners, that encourage other parties to come on board, do better at governing than ones who want to go it alone.
Every time you hear the UDP accused of, seemingly wanting to go into coalitions only on condition that they head the coalition.
Well, yeah, so I guess it's complex, it's difficult. UDP is not only the biggest party, but in some cases, especially with our coalition partners, we are by far the
How many
the
coalition
biggest.
partners do you have?
Well, we don't have yet because we are leading into the election. So it's complex. So I think
and it is said that elections in this country now can only be won by coalescing.
Well,
you can see that the NPP is doing all it can.
It's believed, and I think the numbers also say so. The numbers do say so. We need to partner. No matter what, we need to partner. Partnerships to get it together is sometimes very difficult. It's complex. It takes a long time. But I think just like in 2016, when we see the
And
country...
2021?
2016 is a more similar scenario to date. When we see our country sinking and potentially heading into into an autocratic system, I think one must...
Really? You think we are,
I think so. I think
regressing into autocracy again?
I think so.
You think Barrow is displaying tendencies of an autocrat?
The signs are showing. The signs are showing. And, never underestimate laws.
Like what?
So, more and more, you see there's a willingness of government to basically push back at even media houses. I mean, Barrow, during I think it was the Corite speech, he spoke about bad media, etc.
Online media especially.
So the sentiment is there. So if the sentiment is there, then certainly the environment has to just be right for them to enact on that sentiment. So that's the sign. If you see a president is increasingly getting frustrated, getting angry.
What would be the right environment? That he can say such things and people just keep quiet?
The right environment would be a re-election. And then it would be a winning of local government seats, would be a winning of the National Assembly, have no opposition in any substantial position. Then, of course, the laws provide it. So that would make the perfect environment to be an autocrat. Because the laws that were in Yahya Jammeh's era still existed. Right? It's just the willingness to use it and the environment that would allow you to use it. That's the only things missing. But the ingredients are coming together slowly. And I believe a re-election of Barrow will make it complete.
Do you think the other parties still with the UDP in opposition see things the way you do, to want to really get into an opposition grand coalition, if you like? Because, I mean, the ruling party and its partners call themselves, the grand coalition.
Well, it doesn't matter what you brand yourself. I don't think the branding is what is important. I think the partnerships is what is important.
Yeah, and I'm asking, do they see things the way you're doing it?
Well, I am the organizing secretary. I certainly see it this way. I think increasingly more members are seeing it this way. If you even look at my...
Should Esam by Fall see things the way you
I think everybody who feels
Doi, I'll be having Halifa on Thursday, God willing.
I think everybody who feels that this government needs to go should have that feeling. I believe in politics, you have to overkill. You have to do things that ensure that you win. You don't underrate anybody. Even a one-man party is important, because rather than even that single vote joining you is the symbolic nature of the politics you're doing. It shows that you're accommodating. It shows that you're willing to build consensus. You're willing to partner. I think Gambians love seeing that. They love seeing parties that are willing to bring people together.
Okay. And given this realization, I mean, don't you see the UDP as having, a responsibility and, a responsibility of maybe reaching out to other political parties to get them on board?
I think the time will come. I think there's been...
the time will come.
I think there's already under the table discussions. I can't go in depth, but I think the time will come where that conversation would be had and that decision would be made. Like I said, 2016 coalition was built just a few months before the election, and we torpedoed potentially the most powerful, the most influential president Gambia might ever have. I don't know. I don't
know why you're not using the R word, repressive.
Well, he's repressive, but he was the most powerful. Jammeh was in control of the country in its entirety.
True.
Yes, there was no discretion for decision making.
He was
other
a
than
total
his.
dictator.
He was a total dictator.
Absolute dictator.
So if that coalition could remove Jammeh in a couple of months, then Barrow should be relatively easier.
The Gambian National Drama Gub Gar of GRTS applauds your support, in the area of culture, particularly on theatre. Thanks so much, KMC. Yeah. Where, do the arts feature in your list of, what do you say, favorites?
Yeah, I love arts. Arts enriches a society. We have an Arts and Culture Standing Committee at the council. We spend a lot in supporting different groups that would be termed as parts of the arts, culture, and tourism. I just spoke about, our plan to support 60 youth businesses that are participating in the arts and sports. We have a plan to build an arts theatre. What we don't have yet is the land. But it's a grand theatre that would sit 500 people with a studio inside and an arts gallery. We already have the designs. I am very envious of the Dakar Grand Theatre. I think we need that. And, you know, I would implore on the Ministry of Culture and Tourism to do more in building museums. I don't think we are exploring much of our history or showcasing it, and the preserving of cultural sites, you know, tourism sites, cultural heritage sites. I think art is by far one of the most valuable resources we can export as a country. That's why our tourism market is not very interesting, it's underdeveloped. People come for things that God has already given humans, which is beach and sunshine and beach and sand. You know, we need to add value added tourism.
And Spain could say they have nicer beaches, they have sunshine, Portugal the
Exactly.
same, and all of that.
Look, let me be honest.
And if you go to those countries, the numbers they are scoring in tourism, I mean,
Gambia is an extremely, extremely beautiful country, but it is not the most beautiful country in the world. There's countries who have beaches. There's countries who have amazing sunshine, and even in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But what do we have that is different? Our culture. We need to dig deep and make sure that is at the forefront.
You need to get back to work, because before people say, well, you know, we've paid this mayor all this money today and what have you. Hello, Uncle Peter. This is absolutely my last text for you. Hello, Uncle Peter. Can the mayor tell us when they are going to help us with the road from Westfield, the Catholic Church to Iceman, also from Nawek, KMC down to Jimpex, and the covering of the gutters as well as those roads?
So the gutters on
they actually run parallel to...
Yes, the gutters on the Banjul Highway is the responsibility of the National Road Authority.
Okay.
So roads are classified as highways or feeder roads. So that's an highway, and the highway includes the gutters. We do participate in the cleaning of them because we don't want flooding before the rainy season, but the covering of it is the responsibility of the NRA. Now, the other roads he specifically mentioned, we have a map of the roads we are planning to build on our KMC website. So I'd implore on him to visit that. We could also ask our team to repost it for those who are interested. Fantastic. But no matter how many roads we are building, we're not going to come anywhere close to the roads we need. Yeah. You see, my estimate is Gambia needs to build 5,000 kilometers of roads to be 90% paved. You know, we are very far from that.
Yeah, we are. Let me ask about, you know, garages, you know, across KMC.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't leave my house before 7 o'clock in the morning, I'll have a problem getting out. Yeah. And when I try to get back to my house, you know, around between 5 and 6, it's not possible.
So garages, so when I came into office, I wrote a letter to the president called a Clarion of Action. And one of them was the introduction of properly managed garages, the reduction of second-hand vehicles imported in this country with smart policies, the reduction of second-hand used materials such as tires, washing machines, bicycles, second-hand things imported from Europe. Essentially, we're importing garbage.
Yes.
Right? So that letter was not taken seriously. We also then wrote another letter to the minister before the OIC started, called the car city concept. We identified 3 lands. We identified Abuko. We identified what's this place called? Kamalo. We identified Kotu Power Station. There was a land there where they used to keep the old tractors as 3 potential sites. The idea was to create plots of land that would be allocated to mechanics and car salespeople. Used car salespeople. And then we would clear all our communities. If you have a mechanic, you know exactly where to go to find that mechanic. A mechanic doesn't have to be inside the community, blocking roads, making everywhere dirty with oil, throwing garbage everywhere. So that letter...
That's what I face in my
That letter was not taken seriously.
Honorable Musa Cham knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I wrote that letter personally. We worked with some experts, and we even designed the areas. So our estimate, based on the Google map we were using, was that we could create up to 500 unique plots that we could allocate to mechanics, car salespeople, used car salespeople. That letter was sent. OIC liked it. I remember when they visited. They loved it. and they said they would promote it with the Secretary General's office. We did not hear back. Later, we heard a government announce that they have a car city they're introducing. So,
interesting.
They did not engage us. They did not make us part of it. Now I hear...
If they work on your idea,
So,
that's
interestingly enough, somebody called me, I think last week, and said, government has allocated used car salespeople somewhere around Kotu Power Station, but they're not happy with the place. So they're using our ideas and basically trying to implement it without us. That's why maybe it's not as effective as they imagined. But these were ideas that came from my office in 2019, 2020, the car city concept. Yeah, so
that long ago, eh?
That long ago, So sometimes even with operation clearing the streets of vendors, we approached them with a plan. One was allocate 7 lands to the municipality. We will build municipal markets with partnerships and finance. This would have created effectively about 3,000 vendor spaces. That was the initial, that was basically phase 1 of the plan. Phase 2 would be now the clearing of the roads. But basically we will say, what do you sell? Oh, I sell vegetables. Oh, we have a vegetable market in Bundung. We can allocate plot 1 for you or shop 1 for you, and this is the rent. Right? And therefore, the movement of that person will be amicable. Their livelihood would not be unceremoniously stopped. Their kiosk would not be destroyed unceremoniously. They could clear it out, break it down, sell it for scrap metal, etc. And they have somewhere to be. They basically ignored us. They did not give us any of the lands. We have sent in 45 lands to be given title, which are municipal lands. They have not given that title. And then they went on and said, oh, mayor wants to unceremoniously take women out of the street. They basically started politicking. Until some market woman went to the state house and said, oh, mayor's mother is not selling in the market. That's why he's, propagating that market women should.
But neither is the president's mother selling in the market.
So basically.
Or is she?
Well, no. So basically, they politicized it. So we found back, we naturally don't have the resources, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the lands to make this project come to life. So we found back, 5 years later, they start unceremoniously demolishing people's kiosks because now they see the problem is aggravating. So whenever I sit as a leader, I always think about what's going to happen 5 years down the line, what's going to happen 10 years down the line, and I start planning today. But for them, everything is short term, everything is politics. It's immediate gratification.
Another thing, this One-ter thing, because we've just come out of Korite, we're heading into Tobaski, and very soon One-ter will. But One-ter is an issue. To the Gambian consumer is a good thing, perhaps. But you have hundreds, if not thousands, of vendors who pay you, if not every day, every month, every year.
Right.
So they look forward to these big occasions, Korite and Tobaski.
Right.
But every time, what you hear is Senegalese, sellers come from Senegal with their Charahi Senegal and whatever. And then they block off all routes to the market. So Peter Gomez, has shop number 1010 inside the market, has been there for years.
Right.
Pays all his dues to KMC. Looks forward to Korite, looks forward to Tobaski. But every Korite, every Tobaski, people cannot gain access to his, to his stall because of One-ter. And I hear these people, a majority of them just travel purposely for that from Senegal.
So One-ter has not happened in KMC this year, officially at least. The market committee of Serakunda visited my office and said they didn't want it. We provided...
It's good you're saying this, because I'll come to... There was One-ter. You're simply saying this was not KMC sanctioned.
Officially. It's not KMC sanctioned. Okay. So last year, what had happened, they had visited our offices and made the same complaint. We told them, the best solution is, why don't we create a One-ter where all the streets are allocated to the market vendors, meaning you have to be a shop owner to be entitled to a plot on the street.
That would be fair.
Okay? So there was a huge debate that erupted. It's a democratic process. Some in the market were for it, some in the market were against it. But eventually, majority took, control. We organized it in the street. We gave to shopkeepers. The Tobaski came, the same topic came and said they did not want it. because the last time really did not favor them. There was a lot of debate. They don't want it. They just don't want it to happen. We told them, but it happens anyway. And when it happens, we don't gather income, but we have to take care of all the expenses, all the cleaning.
So KMC does not realize income from One-ters?
No, we used to. So last year, the first one in Korite, we did. The second one in Tobaski, we did not, because the market committee voted that they did not want the One-ter to happen. But it happened anyway.
Yet there was One-ter.
Exactly. It happened anyway, meaning we did not make any income from it. The streets were all left and inundated with rubbish, and we had to clean it. So fast forward this year, another debate broke up in my office. The problem is, to prevent a One-ter from effectively not happening, you need manpower. KMC in total has 200 police officers. We don't have the physical presence and the manpower. We have 2 or 3 municipal police pickups. For this to effectively not happen, you need coordination at every government level. Border control, mobile police, PIU, municipal police, all have to strategize and come together, have adequate manpower, organizational capacity to ensure that a One-ter doesn't effectively happen. But if KMC alone is left to determine whether a One-ter can happen or not, that would be very difficult. So what we told the market people is, look, whether we like it or not, we can't control whether this happens or it doesn't happen. It happens anyway. Why don't we take charge of how it happens? Meaning, let the people in the market benefit from the One-ter.
But I am shocked that people in the market, because your proposal is the right thing. In markets, I always say there's 1,000 truths and 1,000 agendas. Yes.
You never know which one is.
Because what you hear is there was One-ter.
Without KMC's.
There was One-ter.
Without KMC's approval.
And what you hear is this One-ter was actually organized by the Gambia Police Force. I'm speaking on radio.
Yeah.
All right? CD2, the IGP is listening.
Yeah.
And if Senegalese and other nationals are the ones that come into the country at these times only to do One-ter and go back, that's unfair.
So that would be extremely disappointing because our market committee...
And the police, the advice here is for the police and the KMC to work hand in hand to do justice to the people who own stalls inside the Serekunda market.
So what's interesting is during this debate, our councillor responsible for markets did claim that. But although when he claimed it, he was not really being supported by other members of the committee. He said, when we don't organize this One-ter, it's the police who do it and collect incomes
that's what you hear.
From the vendors.
That's what you hear.
But there was other voices that said, well, that is not true. So we don't know the facts, but
Talib.
Tobaski is coming.
Talib, yes. You will know the facts. And as head of the KMC, you are not here to attack anybody or, drag anybody's name in the mud. Yeah. But,
I don't have evidence on certain terms that there's the police who did it. I've heard rumors. No. But now you're saying it on radio and you have information with authority, then we will find out.
Yeah, absolutely. The KMC and the Gambia Police Force should work hand in glove, all right? Yeah. And why not? Yeah. If the people inside the people inside the market say, just make sure there is no One-ter, people will come to us. Yeah. That's also to be understood.
Exactly. So what actually happened in our last meeting, the councillor said, I remember when the meeting concluded, that if a One-ter does happen in Korite, we will make sure we will not listen to you next time, we will conduct the One-ter. He did say that in my office, Councillor Lamin Jammeh. Yeah, oh, wow. So we'll see what happens.
There you go. All right. Talib, thank you so very much for coming. I just want to end with a text message sent to me. This has got nothing to do about you, with you rather. Good morning, Uncle Peter. Were you able to get hold of Bartholomew? He is online for Sol. You've just spoke with him on the phone. Unfortunately, no. I called Bartholomew on a number of occasions. He's the one that won. He's the one that won at, not Bartholomew Jazz. I'm sure you want me to talk about your Senegalese connections. Yeah. We'll do that otherwise. He's the one that won. Oh, even UDP were not even following the half-die by-election.
Oh, okay. That's his name. Okay.
The winner is called Bartholomew Coley. Okay. And I wanted us to have a very good conversation just to, quash this myth that a Christian will not win elective office in this country.
Oh, he's a Christian?
He's Christian.
Oh, that's interesting.
He missed the opportunity.
Oh.
You know, again, I always say this. I mean, have an appointment with UDP. They not only come, they come way ahead of time.
Yeah.
You know, I even called Ibu Fai
Yeah.
to help with getting him, but apparently not even Ibu Fai could get. That's the good thing about me. I name everybody I go through to try to get. How would you like to, you know, conclude this? What, 2 hours? 8-minute conversation.
Well, first of all, you know, I was driving past with my driver. He was going to your old West Coast office.
Shame on him.
So, you know, and he told me...
And we have signage now. At first we will say, oh, no, there's no signage.
And he said to me, wow, look at this. So the radio has been able to build all of this. I said, yes, Uncle Peter has accomplished a lot.
Government did not give us 6 million, by the way.
So I just wanted to say we're extremely proud of you and the good work. And I did say that although we don't see each other in person much, I do see you on TikTok almost every day. I enjoy your deliberations.
Thank you.
You know, so generally, I just want to thank you for this platform. I want to thank you for the good work you're doing for this country.
Thank you.
And you're very brave, and it's very clear that you're not influenced by anybody. You have maintained your independence, and this is journalistic integrity we want people to promote. And I think that's a duty of you, and you're doing it very well.
Thank you.
Lastly, I do have a major program coming up in Farafenye. It's going to be on May 10th. It's a Saturday.
The mayor has a major program.
A major program. But this is not the mayor Talib Bensouda, it's the politician Talib Bensouda.
All right.
So people in the North Bank area, if they're listening, all of them are invited. It's a very important occasion for me. It's people who've supported me in my politics who have come together in North Bank and said they want to have a big program where I speak to the people of North Bank. So this is on May 10th on a Saturday at 5 p.m.
Fantastic. We look forward to that. Talib Ahmed, thank you very much for coming. And we thank Tombong Sedi for accompanying you to the studio. Tomorrow I'll have Alhaji Mustafa Njai. You know him as Tough the Builder. Sorry?
Our favorite uncle.
Our favorite uncle, indeed. All right, he's going to be here also doing 2 hours, and who knows, maybe even plus. Then on Thursday, we have Khalifa Salah. It's Workers' Day. Everybody will be at home, hopefully helping me question Khalifa, just as you people have been helping me question Talib. And then on Friday, we'll have Dr. Fatu Balde. So it's a very important week for us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a very good day. We'll hand you
the
over
company
now to
have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jams, Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta to dede. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxal?
Busel mu fine.
What?
Busel mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Busel mu fine? Wave, your money is yours.